if you could give us a little sentence, a little snippet about Tenzo tea and yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm one of the founders of Tenzo. We're a matcha brand based in Los Angeles. We're kind of remote right now. We're a little over 5 years old. And yeah, about me, I don't know, love matcha, love e-com, D2C, and building consumer brands.
Very fun. Okay. Well, we're going to dive into your founder story a little bit. So if you could tell us like why you just said you love matcha, like where did that originate from? Tell us kind of how you and your co-founder Robbie started Tenzo Tea.
Yeah, so going back to when I was a little kid, I wanted to be really tall. And I was told this lie that
Doesn't every kid?
yeah, but like caffeine
Yeah.
stunted your growth. So I didn't drink caffeine until I was like 19, and I went on this like study date with a girl in college, and we went to Starbucks. Like I got a coffee. Um, so never experiencing caffeine. I was like lit. I don't know if you remember when you first had like a double shot espresso or anything, but like
Yeah.
you kind of like go like a little bit crazy actually. So I had that experience, and I was like, oh man, that was pretty good. Like I like that. And then I got in this kind of cycle of drinking a lot of caffeine. And one day I drank, I don't know, like 4 or 5 cold brews. My stomach was just like absolutely wrecked. And I was feeling really bad. And so I went home and Googled like what's the healthiest form of energy and found matcha. And it just made a lot of sense from a business wise, from a business standpoint. And then I also just genuinely like the product. And matcha has a little bit of caffeine, so not as much as coffee or cold brew. You don't necessarily build up that like kind of dependency on it. And it also has this amino acid called L-theanine, which literally changes your brain waves, and so it's like a more focused, kind of energetic state rather than like this like chaotic, energy that coffee or like Red Bull gives you.
Yeah. To my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but matcha is more like sustained energy for a longer period of time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So yeah, you kind of
But
get
like
rid of
not
those
as much
jitters.
energy, right? Like
Yeah, it's
it's
more just like
constant. It's like
this
less
rather
than
than like
coffee. Yeah.
right.
You
It's
have
like
to
more of a
use the arms.
You gotta
yeah,
use
it's like
it.
a steady slope versus like this roller coaster up crash.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So it was the fact that I feel like also caffeine. So we should dive into this because Brian drinks coffee. I
Me too.
don't. So I feel like,
Brian, what's
I'm
going on, man?
yeah,
Coming
you
let's
on
do
need
this
a
to sell
pitch.
podcast,
him right
big
now,
coffee
Brian.
drinker?
Like that's what
Jeez.
I want. At the end of the conversation, it's like, all right, let's go to the tea route.
Well,
Yeah.
I would also say like we're actually trying to remove like T from our name, and like we're changing the domain soon. Like we just changed all of our socials, and like
Oh.
matcha is like this weird like it's not really a tea. It's like you think of tea, it's like very like soft and light, and you think like, oh, it's like let's make a tea. And like no offense to hardcore tea drinkers, obviously. But it's like a halfway point between tea that you are used to and coffee. So it's like a middle ground, not really one or the other.
Are you like, is that a different category? Like you're trying to create a
Okay,
different category? Do you want to talk
great,
about
great,
this?
great question. That's
Dive in.
more me making sense of it to you guys. And but like technically matcha literally means powdered tea in the translation. So like it
Right.
really is a tea. It's a variety of green tea. Um, so there's that, but we're
You're in a
building our
crowded
own path.
space, right? Like it makes sense. Like
Yeah,
I'll be like the way that I've seen Tenzo now is like it's the qual like tell me if I'm wrong here, but it seems to me it's like it's the quality. Like affordable, but also quality. Because you
totally.
talk about the vibrant of the green and what that means. Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's super high quality, and I mean, honestly, this is like one of the best and the worst things about like being in matcha. Is like one, it is a very new category in the U.S., and a lot of people aren't like acclimated to that. And then two, there's a lot of really low quality stuff on the market. So, and that's because it's so new, people don't know a lot about it,
Yeah.
meaning they can't distinguish between like what is crappy and what's good. And if you think about like the trends of coffee over the last like 40 years, basically the world was built on Folgers, and like that was disgusting coffee, and that allowed
Don't tell my
Starbucks.
mother that.
Well, you might want to tell her. Maybe she's living a lie.
I've told her so many times, and I still get that Folgers every time I go.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I know. It's
Maybe
okay.
bring your own next time or something. But yeah, so like that provides an opportunity for this higher quality brand to come in. And so like that was Starbucks, right? And then the whole world got, or the country, world, whatever, got educated on like what Starbucks is. And they're like, oh, this is a lot better than Folgers, you know? And then it was like, oh, like there's an even higher quality than Starbucks, which is like this third wave coffee. You see like Blue Bottle, Bluestone Lane, like all the independent, like trendy cafes around the country. And there's 30,000 of those in the US,
Yep.
you know? And so it's that kind of cycle of knowledge and consumer preferences. And we're kind of slotting in like right after the Folgers era of matcha, and trying to build, you know, the Starbucks of it.
But if you're just to go into like acquisition a little bit, like if you're looking at it from the coffee side, like you got it. If you're new to coffee, you kind of start at Folgers, right? Like there's an entry point, or no?
I think the entry point is the iced Frappuccino from Starbucks. It's like that's their most popular drink. It's just sugar and sweet, and you get a little bit of caffeine, but it's really like eating an ice cream.
Do you think those people will then like? Are they on their way to the Blue Bottle coffee?
I think so, yeah, for
You
sure.
think so?
I mean,
like that's
I don't
journey.
think I don't think you know people 50 and above are on that journey. Yeah, maybe 60 and above or whatever. But like, point is, it's like younger consumers go through this change where your habits change and your preferences change as you know
Yeah.
learn and try new things. But older people are really stuck in their ways. Like your mom is drinking an inferior product, but she's like, I've drank Folgers for 40 years. Like I love it.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Oh
if I don't
yeah.
have it, I go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like if I were to start drinking coffee, and I don't feel like I need a ton of caffeine, just never have. Like, and when I've had it, it's just jittery. So matcha, maybe that's the way for me, similar to you, Steve. But like, I feel like my entry point would be Starbucks because that's like what my friends would drink out of coffee or like what they would recommend. So your point, Steve, of like the entry point being there, I feel like you don't have to go all the way back. It's like, oh, what do you know? And what are the people that you're around? What do they drink?
Did you
Yep.
have to research your ICP? Like, meaning like, hey, we're going to go after people that have some sort of knowledge of the green tea space and like they have been to Starbucks before? Like, do you talk about that at all? Or is at this point it's just like, we're going
Yeah.
to
I
drive
mean,
whoever?
it depends on like where we're selling, I guess. In ecom, we do a lot of targeting against, we call it S bucks. So you don't want to actually say Starbucks, but
All right.
yeah,
That's a good
I
one.
mean, those people are great, and especially because in Starbucks and Dunkin' and all the big chains have a matcha SKU that they're selling constantly, but people who are drinking those are really good targets because they already like the matcha flavor,
Hmm.
but they're just drinking it with like a ton of sugar. And so getting them to switch is a very clean, you know, opportunity for us as a brand.
Yeah.
Now going back to your like the product itself. So you were saying that it was it's at this point where it's affordable but it's higher quality, right? Like can you even go like I know the stories of you've been to Japan where you like sourced are there like even higher quality matcha teas as well, like way
Oh
above
yeah,
yours?
way above. I
Like how
mean,
expensive are we talking about?
I think like around $1,000 USD for like a couple servings. Like
Whoa.
it's like wine. Like it
Yeah.
scales dramatically.
Did you learn
Um,
that when you went out there? Did you know that beforehand?
well, we learned it sometime early in the journey. Like we didn't really know a lot when we first started. Like, we were super dumb actually, and like I'd never even had a job. Like we just went on Google one day and searched bulk matcha and emailed the first 60 results, and one of them responded. And that's the one we ended up going with. This guy in Arizona, shout out Dean Jablon.
Team
We
blonde.
bought like six different SKUs of matcha, like a bunch of different grades, like blueberry, raspberry flavor. Like it was chaotic, and we ended up finding out who he was buying the best one from, then went to them, and then
Mm.
you know went through like a whole sourcing process after like we learned like what that was, um, to find the best one and really just optimizing quality and price.
How did you like? I know that's a tough question to answer, but how did you go to like, all right, this is the most affordable and this is like the quality? Like, did you have that mindset going into it of where you want it to be, or was it just like just
Um,
happenstance that all right, this
no,
is it?
it's a it's an iterative process for sure.
Okay.
So like we went through like three suppliers in the first like 8 months of the company. And
Okay.
then we had this crazy story, and we ended up finding this really good guy when we were in Japan. And he helped us do that. And then it really comes down to just looking at the market and like having a good understanding. Like almost every year, we'll buy like every matcha on the market and taste them all and put in the costs in like a big spreadsheet and figure out like, hey, where do we want to come into the market at? And like, are we right there? And that does that make sense? And that's a yes, it's a yes, it's great. But um, just about consistently trying, different suppliers and different grades of matcha and making sure that you really know what's going on and why.
And that's a monthly thing that you do that?
No, no, that's annually. It's too much to do monthly, but
I was
like,
gonna say.
well, pretty frequently, like if we get reached out to a ton by people like trying to sell us like their bulk matcha. Um,
Mm.
and if it's like a farm, that's not manufacturing it, then we'll try it and get samples. And if we like it, we'll move forward.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, Steve, I wanted to ask, like, I feel like okay, so that the video we've been talking about, of, like, that you two made of you, like, going to Japan. Do you know the one I'm
Yeah.
talking,
Yeah, I
talking
know,
about?
the video.
Have you seen it? Yeah.
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 Have you seen it? Um, like, even though the product, you said it was iterative in the beginning, I feel like the messaging wasn't, right? Like, even you telling the story of, like, you going on the study date and then not liking the way that caffeine had made you feel. Like, I feel like that messaging comes across in that video in terms of, like, oh, you are, like, when you're drinking matcha, like, you're not just drinking it to get the caffeine, but because of how it makes you feel and how it's different from traditional caffeine. And so with that, was that like part of the brand messaging that you guys still stay true to today? Like, even though the product where you're getting the like bulk matcha from has been iterative to, like, always find the best, I feel like that background of your brand has still been pretty true, right?
Totally. I mean, I think that's a really important thing in a world where it's very easy to copy and paste, and you see like this term blanding. The best way to stand out is
Ooh.
to just be genuine and be yourself. And myself and my co-founder Rob were very much kind of chaotic and just like genuinely positive, optimistic guys. And I think that comes across in the brand,
Mm-hmm.
and really being true to yourself is super key when you're creating the content and building the brand too. Um, I think that the founders that do that, consistently have a really positive impact. And when you kind of deviate or steer away, then you can get caught in this trap of like, oh, like I've been working really hard on this thing and I'm not really that thing. And then there's like this weird, like cognitive dissonance going on between like what you're doing and who you are. And the customers or the people watching and consuming the content can feel that and understand that. And at the same time, like that video could be done a lot better if we were to redo it.
I think it's
Um,
great. You should leave it. It's very
it'll be,
genuine.
yeah, it's good that you're saying that. Maybe in a couple of years I'll feel differently, but right now I'm like in the cringe um
It's
kind
not
of
bad.
phase.
It's
No,
not bad at
Yeah,
all. Because I think it's like it's right. It's like that. It's a great in between of like not too professional where it's like, all right, this is up there, but it's not too amateur. It's like right in the middle. I
yeah.
like it, and
yeah.
I
Spent a couple $1,000s in a couple days on it, so
We'll hype you guys up. We liked watching it.
gas it up. I
blanding.
love
I
Yeah,
like that
blanding.
blanding. That's the first time I've heard of it.
it. Really?
Brian,
I haven't heard of it. Is,
even on TikTok, you haven't?
no,
No.
no, even on TikTok, I haven't heard of it. But
I don't think it's like a
blanding.
super trendy term, but like if you look at a lot of the consumer brands in the last couple of years, like a lot of the average ones all look the exact same.
Yeah.
Like that sans serif font, lowercase letters. It's classic. It's
Well, it's
everywhere.
founder. Yeah. I mean, like I just think it as like founder led, and you stay like that. The problem that I see is like, well, how many if you don't mind me asking, like how many employees do you have now at Tenzo
Uh,
Tea?
only five
Five.
full time.
And is anyone in charge of marketing, or is it still founder led? Like basically you and your
Um,
co-founder at this point.
yeah, it's a lot of it is my co-founder, but we know we have a great woman on the team, Lori, who runs most of it. But yeah, it's just Rob and I are both pretty much involved in a lot of decisions still, but she does a really good job.
Right.
Shout out Lori.
Lori.
Shout out Lori.
Like Lori's job is tough, right? Because I've seen this before where it's like the marketer's job is to promote the founder. Like if it's founder led, is to do as much as you can to amplify the founder's message.
Yep.
And the founder is the CMO at the end of the day when it's like that.
Yeah,
And
and I
it's a
mean,
tough job.
it's super tough, especially because founders are chaotic, and like you read a book and you're like, oh, why aren't we doing this? Like, what's going on? Wow. And so it's just constantly pushing, and it's something that Rob, more so than I, has spent a lot of time trying to get really clear on a lot of those questions around it. What is the voice, and who are we partnering with, and why, and a lot of those things.
I did read that you do like to read. So
yeah, big reader.
What was the last few books that you all of a sudden talked to?
Gonna sound like such a dork. Okay, well, last couple of books I
Bring
read,
it on.
I'm reading this really long fantasy series. So not a lot of book like business stuff there.
But are you doing that to generate additional ideas, or is this just to get away from?
No, this is just just pure enjoyment. Like I like reading. I love reading. So, but I went on this kick where like I read like every business book like you could read, and like all like all the classics that people are like shilling on Twitter, like 33 books about business.
Yeah, they take a picture and they say, "Here's all the books." Yeah.
And they're like, "Here's my Amazon link. I'll make 15% of any purchase."
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Culting of Brands was a really good book, specifically about branding. Seth Godin has some really good ones on marketing. There's a lot of them.
Does Seth Godin have any new ones? Or are they all older? Like I've read all of his older stuff. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I don't think he has any new ones. My bookshelf is right over here. The last one I read was This Is Marketing, which was pretty solid.
It's called This Is by Seth or someone else?
By Seth, yeah.
This Is Marketing? Oh, I think that's a relatively newer one, like in the last
it is relatively newer.
Yeah.
But I also think like genuine or just like marketing is a lot about like looking around and what's going on in society and like playing off themes, right? So like what I wanted to do last week was like, let's hype up corn. Like, let's go big on corn.
Brian's not going to get that reference.
I don't get it. Damn it. I knew this was going to happen.
Half of this podcast, Steve, is like me filling in like Brian on what's trending right now. So
okay,
do you want to give the background of corn?
Yeah, basically.
What is this?
There's this guy on TikTok that interviews like passionate like little kids. Like I don't know if you've seen any of his older videos. I think there's one about like kimono dragons. But like anyway, this guy's interviewing this kid about corn, and the little kid is like obsessed. Like corn. This kid, he loves corn. Like as much as you like think about the thing that you love most in your life as a child. And like, just imagine that is corn, and like you're an 8-year-old kid answering in like serious, like adult interview questions, like about
wholeheartedly answering about
this
corn.
Kid must be Midwest. That's for sure.
Oh, it's pure passion, like and it's inspiring to watch. Like I want to be that passionate about things in my life.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, that interview got remixed into like a short song, and the song is amazing.
I could sing it. Like it's in my head constantly. If I'm being honest, I won't. But
yeah, I could sing every word too. Like we could do a duet right now. It's corn. And anyway, so it goes on, and like the internet is like freaking out. It's like one of the most viewed videos on TikTok, and then there's corn memes and like everything's corn.
The song is the most viewed video on TikTok.
The song is so good.
Because like so the original video blew up, and then someone remixed it, and then that's blowing up now.
This happens often. This is what I'm understanding.
That's how people take like the whole thing of TikTok is they take the sounds and then they just blow up because people apply them in all these different ways.
Yeah. So now someone will probably take this podcast and be like, "Oh my gosh, I want to make a song out of it."
We're gonna make a very popular video from this podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, like it went so crazy. Like I got a DoorDash notification, like it's corn, and then like here's places you can get corn near you.
Oh, I see.
And grocery stores, I saw like so many.
Corn.
They had more corn. Yeah.
Brian, you're gonna go out of your house today, you're going to be like, corn's going to be on the
Yeah.
mind, and you're just going to
Yeah.
be like, corn there, corn there.
I
It's
might be
everywhere.
having corn tonight. Like,
It's a given. Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
Another
Okay,
reason
well,
for
hold
using
on. Well, going
TikTok.
back to like why this was brought up in the first place. You're saying here's the
Yeah,
theme, and you're
no,
like, how can
marketing,
we add to this theme, right?
play off. Like,
Yeah.
I need a meme of Kanye, Kanye West Instagram story today of like,
Yeah.
I need everyone on planet Earth to drink matcha or I'm done. Like, I'm out. Like, something like that. Just
Yeah.
chaotic Kanye.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's part of marketing. And then the other half is like, and that's like the kind of like artsy side. And then a lot of it's just data and numbers too. And like
Yeah.
really following those things. And it's like, for example, it's like you wouldn't post organic brand content on Facebook anymore because like no one's there. And like you can see that in views and shares and likes. And then conversely, TikTok, YouTube shorts and Instagram reels, it's like those are popping off. So it's like, marketing is an interesting discipline in general because it's a very balanced one, meaning it's art and science, and the people that understand both sides of that coin
Yeah.
will really excel. Yeah.
You're not gonna find a lot of that in books these days. You'll find the foundations. Like I love, like, don't get me wrong, like right next to me is Ryan makes fun of me,
Yeah,
like
you
entire
should see the
bookshelf of
bookshelf.
like all these books. That's why I ask you. There's also one that you should read. I feel like it's called Play Bigger, about building categories and branding. I would recommend that. Which I thought you were going to say, so you probably know half the book already if you're thinking about categories already. But that's the thing. Like, I'm not like I want to learn as much about the foundation, but there's no way that I'm gonna learn how to take those themes, like you said, and understand how do you build off of that and piggyback off of it.
I just bought the book, by the way. No, I couldn't
On the
agree.
call, you bought it?
Yeah, literally just now, one click, Amazon Kindle.
Wow.
Kindle. Oof.
Okay, let's not get into this debate here.
All right, that's fine.
I agree, Brian. Going back to your comment, like books will give you a lot of the basics, and if you want to be a true master, it really comes down to applying. That's one of the reasons I like just stopped reading all the businessy books, and like occasionally I'll pick one back up if it's like highly recommended from a trusted source. But
AKA
like
Brian on this call.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, look at that, subtle compliment. But yeah, it's like I like reading just because I enjoy reading, and it takes up time in the evening rather than like watching Netflix or like doing something else. And like I think it helps me beat my family members in Wordle. But like to be really good at marketing or ecom or business and finance and operations, it's like you really need to be like in the weeds, like grinding and like looking at numbers and also, avoiding just looking at a spreadsheet all day and really understanding like why things are the way they are. And that's everything from like, from a brand side, it's like we buy a bunch of different ingredients and we buy boxes and packaging material, and someone's got to put those all together and fill it, and then it's got to get shipped here. And it's like there's a lot of different cost segments there, understanding those. And it's like if you're just looking at a spreadsheet all day, you're not really going to understand why. And you're not going to figure these things out. But like, yeah. So if you want to get really good at things and master stuff, it's all about action and, literally just showing up and doing the work day in and day out.
Right.
Yeah. I'm curious to what you'd say to this, Steve, because we were having this chat with Brandon at Electric Marketing Brian during our offsite. And he was saying like he believes that, you kind of have to have a face to a brand these days. Like that's what really connects with people. It goes back to what we were saying about being genuine. And I think this ties in with like TikTok, everything. Like everyone has a face to something. Like the corn video, right? Like I can see that kid in my mind. Like I can see the guy who interviews them. So do you think that's also part of like moving with the times? Like for a brand to succeed, you need that, like that connection, that person that you're looking at and like know that is attached to a certain brand?
Somewhat. I think
Yeah.
there's a balance there. I think it makes it a lot easier, but like I also don't think it's absolutely necessary either. And like if you think about let's say like do you guys know Liquid IV? They're like a really big hydration company.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's up with the smirk, Brian?
Because Yao, the founder, I can't, like, this is the problem with video. Yao, the founder, loves Liquid IV, and like says he drinks one daily.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what he said? Daily?
Yeah,
And
he loves
I
it.
don't. Yeah.
We also had it at our like offsite. So he was like, the next morning you're up and ready to go after a late night with the team. So
I love that. I probably drink close to one a day too.
there you go.
So I don't know.
Subscription?
I just ordered it on Amazon. No.
Yeah,
Kidding.
no. Like one of my best friends works there. I'm also friends with the founder, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. Like going back to the
Mm,
story, like, do you need a
Yeah.
face, right? Like if you're like Kim Kardashian or like Mr. Beast, like of freaking course, like having a face is gonna it really accelerate that brand,
yeah.
But there's a lot of ways to build a brand, and if you think about Liquid IV, like they had a really great outcome, and it was very positive for founders, investors, and all the early employees. And Brandon isn't like huge, but like he would post about the company and what they're doing on like LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, and like he's got like a following, but it's not like he's Kim Kardashian, and it's like I know a
Right.
lot of people that enjoy Liquid IV that have no clue, or
Hmm.
think about all the brands that you enjoy. It's like I don't know who the founder of Hawaiian King's roll is, but when Thanksgiving comes, I love those mini little rolls.
They're so good.
They
So
are.
Yeah.
like I couldn't tell you a
They
single
go well
brand
with
that
corn.
sells corn. Yeah, like well, who's a corn brand? I have no idea, but you can go to the grocery store, buy this corn, and you're like, oh, this is great.
But
Wh-
that's an opportunity. My gosh.
yeah, I
Like
was
a
gonna say
corn
we're
brand with a founder's face on it.
yeah. We should be a corn
Yeah.
brand now. That's what's gonna come out of this episode.
Um,
Hey, I think
I'll,
selling corn would probably be really, really hard and super competitive. It's like the number one agricultural product in the country, right? Like,
sounds like a good challenge.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you
buy
can
a lot of corn farms.
exclusive corn that you can only get through a D2C brand.
Hey, we should maybe we have our spokesperson. It's a little kid. We hire the kid.
We have
Build the
this
brand with
video.
the
We've
kid.
traveled the world looking for the best corn, and we found it actually in Iowa. Like, how amazing would that be? Um,
It's
Yeah,
writing
yeah,
itself.
yeah.
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 So let me get so on the subject though. Like, I'm gonna transfer to. Well, here's my hypothesis. You can tell me like you don't agree or you agree, but like I think the founders branding like really helps with like getting that exposure, getting someone to your website, getting someone like interested in what this is. But it's to get someone to stay, I don't think it like really helps. I think that's when the product is like actually the main variable that gets someone to like buy again and again and again. It's like actually is this a great product to keep and to keep on buying. Is that the way that you think about it too, Steve, or is that different?
Um, I think there's a lot of truth in what you said, and I don't necessarily think it's the whole story, but I do think that product is the most important thing in a consumer brand for sure. And if you don't have a great product, no matter how many people you get to the website, it's just not going to work. And frankly, if like companies like these drop shippers, those people like I really don't like, and they're just shilling bad products. And it's like the best brands in the world have the highest LTVs, and they're getting repeat purchases over decades. And if you think about them, like I don't know, like are either of you like Apple product users? Like, do you have an iPhone and a Mac?
Yes.
So
Yep.
like think about the total dollar value of you like with Apple. Like I don't know, I've had an iPhone now for like 15 years maybe. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot of iPhones. That's like at least 8 iPhones. And then maybe more in college. I broke a few. And I've like had like 4 MacBooks. Like I got my AirPods in. I got an Apple mouse. I got this Apple keyboard. I
The
have like
watch.
45. Yeah, the watch, like 45 chargers.
I saw
Like
it. Yeah.
it's
It's a
crazy, right?
lot.
Like it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over a very long period of time. And I would imagine that a lot of people feel that same way. That's why they're one of the biggest companies in the world, and AirPods makes $8 billion a year.
Is
Like,
that what it is? 8 billion?
yeah, AirPods is a bigger company than like Spotify, Netflix. Like,
Crazy.
That's insane.
it's
But I believe it.
a single
Yeah.
product.
I
Yeah.
will say though that like for me, I can't prove my own hypothesis, but like Steve Jobs led me to like I was always a big fan of Steve Jobs. Like I got his biography over here, and that led me to the
Yep.
brand. And then as soon as I just saw like the quality and like just the why behind the brand, like that kept me for the last 15 years.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like your comment, there's a lot of truth in that hypothesis, and I think that stands. But there's a lot of things you need to do outside of product also to make people stick around. And that's like, you need customer service and you need good marketing and education and you
Yeah.
need to stay relevant, like a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So this is a good, like, Mariah, like I was gonna move this on because I think this is like it leans into this. All right, after the purchase, can you tell us a little bit about, like, I know that you're also a very big data person. So I've heard before that, like, hey, you will optimize LTV by certain channels and try to find certain patterns in the customer journey and then say, hey, let's invest here because it has a higher
Yeah.
LTV. So in that regard, when it comes to, let's just start with like post purchase. So like after someone buys, did you put a lot of time into that, like from the very
After someone
beginning?
buys, I don't think we do anything after they buy.
Yeah, nothing. All right.
No, obviously just joking. We do a ton of work with it. It's like, it is so important. And even personally, I feel like I've done like so much studying about like how retention works and how to optimize it and how to analyze it and what are the most important steps in it. But yeah, we do constant iterations on every part of that flow.
So talk a little, can you actually explain to us, once someone does buy, there's obviously a shipping process, then they get their package. Are you also like, you put a lot of effort into the boxing and like the actually
Yeah,
opening up of
so
that package and that experience as well?
yeah, let's start with unboxing. So unboxing, when people first purchase, they buy a trial kit, right? So that's like comes with Matcha, like a storage container, a
Right.
scooper, an electric mixer, the whole gambit of stuff that you need to be successful. And so like one is like all of those. This is a cool thing we do. It's like all of those have like SKUs, right? And then we have like a special box, and then we have like an insert card. Everything has a SKU. And then like 3 years ago, we started doing SKU iterations, right? So like we would do like say the SKUs like 1, 2, 3. It became like 1, 2, 3 -1, and then 1, 2, 3 -2. And every time we improved one of those things, we looked at retention in corresponding cohorts, and then made sure that like one is product development mapping to LTV. And so then you shoot different shots based on things you're learning or customer feedback and surveys. But that's like product development, iterating that, and that's really important. And even in that video, like that you referenced earlier, like one of the cringy parts, like all those products, like we had like janky ass labels. Like we would buy these white tins from this guy in Riverside, California. Like he'd ship it to our office. We'd get stickers from this person. Like we'd put stickers on tins, and like, you know, it turns out like, oh, just buying a lot of freaking tins that are fully printed is really nice. And then we're like, oh, like we can do like kind of texturize the tin so like all the lettering like stands out like a millimeter. And then like that was like, oh, like that actually improved retention. Because you had a better feel in your hands, and you're picking up that tin every day. Like it's much nicer, right? And then so like that's part one, and like part two is like this really extensive email flow. Obviously we use you guys, and you power the tracking, and there's a really nice portal, and really, really clear messaging around how to use the product, and be successful with it, and what you should see and how it impacts your life. And really, a lot of it's focused on like, you really need to drink it daily. Like this is a habit that you're committing to, and like it's the same thing with going to the gym. Like if you're pounding 5 cold brews a day and you're making a switch to matcha, like you're probably, if you just drink 1 cup a day, like you're still going to be in caffeine withdrawal, and like you're not going to feel like that good.
Right.
So it's like being aware of that, and if you're aware of that, you'll be able to better deal with it, or you can just, frankly, increase the consumption of matcha a lot more to get closer to that coffee volume, so you don't feel as bad if you're still getting a bunch of caffeine. Yeah, and then we A/B test and iterate, these things, and like you look at the numbers in Klaviyo, and we created a custom dashboard, and we look at the metrics there, and like we map the Klaviyo flow IDs to the LTVs of customers and cohorts, and track when those went live and what emails you got, and then iterate around that.
Is there a certain flow that's when someone's buying one time where like, all right, here's the experience that they're going to receive to then try to get them to become a subscriber?
Yeah, totally. And I think we upsell like within 12 months of your first purchase, if it's a one time, we upsell like over 40% of those people into subscription. It's a pretty substantial amount.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, the only reason that Tenzo's been able to grow on the e-com side is like we have really high LTV. Like we have high LTV, and the people at Common Thread, this guy Taylor Holiday, he's a pretty smart dude. Have this concept of like how quickly are you doubling first order AOV, right? Are you doubling it in 30 days? Are you doubling it in 60, 90, 100? Like we're doing like 300% in 12 months and like 100% in like 30 days, or maybe 60 days. But it's like those numbers are very outside of like the normal scope of, just e-com and products like that. So high contributional margin, which means you can spend more money on ads, which means you can grow faster.
Is that what you're doing? Are you
Yeah,
now have the
yeah.
ability to spend more on the acquisition side because the LTV is high enough?
Yeah, you get really good at LTVs and payback periods, and that creates this kind of unfair advantage in the category. Because you can bid more on ads, so you can outbid them in search, you can outbid them on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you're buying ads. It's like
exactly then how much to pay for that click, right?
Oh yeah, everything is perfectly mapped out. Yeah, but I mean, the only challenging part now is like iOS 14 really made it a lot more difficult on the acquisition side. Like retention data is obviously very clear. You have it all in Shopify, but acquisition is basically like we've reverted like 20 years and now no one really knows anymore. And you're just like spending a bunch of money and hopefully it works.
Yeah. Are you in that time period of like trying to figure out, like everyone else is, right? Like the privacy changes and reverting back 20 years, like how you can like use older like marketing methods or older acquisition methods to get in front of customers
Um,
without that data?
yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think like right now, first of all, like, we still have a lot of data. Like it's not like
Yeah.
it's gone per se. It's just like if you think about like a clear day and like if there's not a cloud in the sky, like you can see, and you're standing on a mountain, you can see really far, right? But if there's like a storm coming in, it gets a little cloudy, maybe there's a little fog, you can't quite see as far. And that's what I would say. Like you can still see a lot, but it's just a little bit more cloudy. Um, but yeah, like I think the main switch we did is just really focusing on organic content, and like we're really pushing and investing a lot to make better organic content. And utilize the right platforms and create content that looks native to each platform and create the right content, all that kind of stuff.
So I should expect to see TikTok and Instagram Reels
Yes,
soon.
yes, and YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts. Okay.
Are you
Excited
doing
for
that
that.
in-house or that's an agency that's helping you?
No agency. I mean, that's Lori on our team. She works with Rob, and they, contact a large number of creators or a small number that are really good. It just kind of depends on the month, and then they send us a ton of content.
Yeah,
We
that's the new
just,
way, I feel like.
yeah. Well, we just saw that we were talking about this last week, but what was it called? Shopify collabs.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
Yep.
seen that? Is that like something that you would do?
Yeah, I saw it.
Is it just
It's just meh. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not as involved in that process. I kind of let them leave that. I mean, just leave it up to them. Like, yeah, we have a lot of autonomy. I can't be like looking at that. But hey, I get the numbers every week, and I look at all the organic content, and I set the goals for what they need to hit. But that's about as far as I step into that pool.
Yeah. Okay. I like the idea behind, I feel like organic content works, at least for me as a consumer, very well. And like the idea that you're still having that connection of like what your brand stands for and the like name, like the face of someone, right? But you already have the like creator. If you're a really big follower of some typical creator and you see that like, oh, they drink matcha and they really like it, and the brand they always shop with is Tenzo tea, like I think it lends itself very well, obviously, to having that influence over someone. And this is a topic that I recently saw, but I feel like we're now shifting as a society to putting more of an influence on those creators instead of like celebrity endorsements. What's both of your like opinions on that?
Brian?
I was gonna ask you because I mean, okay, this is coming from someone that's not on Instagram, someone that's not on TikTok. I I'm trying to think like I still have influencers. They're just in different ways. Like it sounds so old, but like when I read certain books and I really like the author, like someone recommended it on a certain podcast, I'll get the book. I'm like, I really like the author. Then I'll follow the author. They usually have a newsletter, and whatever they recommend, I'll pick up like my next book or whatever. So I just don't see that. I'm the same way. Like they're creators just in a different channel or source, more or less. Um, but I think, yeah, like it's the same thing. It's just like how we had celebrity endorsements and then just like widen the gap. And it's really easy now to get an endorsement within just another select channel.
Yeah. I mean, newsletters is a really good point too. Like newsletters are huge. They're a really good spot to market, and you can buy placements on them, or you can get an organic placement, like Brian was referencing.
Organic.
But I think, yeah, yeah,
Air
organic.
quotes.
You never know these days. That's the sad truth of the matter. Um, but yeah, I just think on the creator side, like they're just good. Like not like your average, I don't know, like college kid or like young professional that's just like, oh, like posting on TikTok and like gets like 2 views. But like people, like there are people that are like actually very skilled at those things, and it's much easier for them to do it than
Yeah.
me to do it. And it's like I think it's really just about finding like expertise on what you need. Like we have this one girl, Kaylee, shout out Kaylee. She
Really.
is so good at recipes, and I could spend the next 50 years of my life, like, 24 hours a day, like corn obsessed with recipes. I would never be as good as Kaylee.
Quite obsessed.
Like she's a great photographer, videographer. Her recipes, I don't know how she thinks of them, or I don't even know like how she figures out what ingredients to use and what proportions. Like it all just like I'm like, oh my God, you
Yeah.
know? She's a fucking pro. And if you look
Yeah.
at our content on recipes, it is really good. Um, so I think it's about just working with the experts.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yeah. I feel like too with like name, image, likeness with athletes. I know Steve, you were an athlete as well in college, but like I feel like that's why it's trending more in that direction of people who are like experts or like they're really knowledgeable about this area. Like you said, Haley, recipes. Like I'm the
Yep.
that makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure exactly where I lie, and I feel like there's still like celebrity endorsements are very powerful nowadays. Like they still are, but I've definitely I think creators also, whatever their level of expertise or whatever their area is in, it definitely still makes a difference for sure.
Yeah.
I
No,
love it as a marketer, honestly, because like I don't know how you think about it, Steve, but like there's like so many possibilities to look at it. Right? Like before it was like, okay, we have to do the mass media, like find one celebrity that encompasses hopefully the ICP of what we're going after. But now it actually takes thinking to be like, hey, we can try to build a relationship with 10 people that know like let's try to find those 10 people and those 10 influencers and creators. And
for sure.
you
I
know,
mean, it's a great time to be a marketer. So many ways that you can grow a company. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to the creator point that I was making earlier. It's like there's so many ways, and to do any one of them really well, you need to be like super good at it. And like it's one thing to say like, oh, like I wrote a blog post, like I'm working on SEO, like I'm an SEO expert. But it's like that's like so not true. Or even like Facebook ads or TikTok media buying, it's all like way more complex than you think. Same with posting organic content. You think, oh, I can open up TikTok and just shoot this little video of myself making a little matcha, no problem.
Have
And
you
then you're
tried
like,
that?
wow, oh yeah, I've done it a million times. Like,
Yeah.
are you drinking
Yeah.
matcha right now?
yeah, I am my little Tenzo shaker bottle,
Oh, I like it. How many do you drink a day right now?
87.
Mm. On hard days, 88, right?
Yeah, 100 is 88, maybe 89.
Uh,
No, like two a day, usually morning, afternoon. Sometimes I'll fire up like a 4 p.m.er if I'm like gonna be working like late or like gonna go to an event late or something. But
How long do you have that like sustained energy for? Like personally, would you say? Like off of one
a
cup?
couple hours, like, it kind of depends. I mean, the real, answer here is like energy, your personal energy level, it depends on a lot of things. And if you really want to nail it, like you need to sleep 8 hours and you need to eat the right amount of food and not too much of it. And like what you put in your body is absolutely critical. Are you super stressed or anxious? Like all these things play this role. Um, and it's very difficult, even for me, like if I don't sleep like the appropriate amount of hours, like I feel worse, I have less energy. Maybe I'll be drinking, 89 cups that day.
Yeah. Well, in a perfect
So,
world, the way that you measure retention is probably the way that you should also measure like what's the best way to concentrate, right? Like you wake up, all right, I'm only going to drink 2 cups of matcha tea today, and then I'll also get 8 hours of sleep, and then see how it is. And then the next day, like what if three cups of matcha tea and then 8 hours of sleep? That's the way to do it.
yep.
You're speaking like everything like that sounded exactly like athletics. So I'm curious, did that play like a big part in your founder story as well? Kind of bringing it full circle here, like the healthy living
Um,
style, all of that.
yeah, I mean, I think that in my freshman year at UCLA, like one of the big lessons that year was like, if you want to perform at a really high level, the the degree to which you're different than the people that are, just below you or just above you is very, very small. And it's like the good way to think about it for just everyone is like if you think about studying for a test, like it takes maybe like 1% of the time to get like a D or a C. And it takes, let's say, 90% time to get to an A. And then it takes like, you know, a ton more time to just get from A to A plus. And like that very small window is like the little things and really nailing those. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's the same thing in sports. It's like the degree is very small. And if you want to get that A to A plus level, you really need to do everything well. And that comes down to like having good routines in the morning and night and not like drinking a ton or like raging too much in college and like, showing up and going to class and getting your homework done on time. So if you don't, then you're gonna be put in like a tutor or like whatever thing else that can like distract you from like what you really need to do, which is like as an athlete, which is like just be really, really good at sports.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and so like life's very holistic. Same thing, the concept about health that we were just talking about. It's like you got to be good on all fronts. And the best people, well, they'll have deficiencies in some areas or things that they just don't care about. Um, you're usually really, really good at the key things that truly matter. And everything else is just meh.
Yeah. What would you say if you had to pinpoint one thing for Tenzo that was like that extra little bump from A to A plus? Putting you on the
Um,
spot here, Steve.
no, great question. I mean, I don't even think we're not even close to A plus yet. Let's be real. Like,
I
I
like
think
the
about
honesty.
this. Yeah, like when I was thinking about like what we were doing like in college athletics, like especially like UCLA was like the best men's volleyball program in the country. It's like the highest level of indoor volleyball you can play in America. And like we were doing really sophisticated stuff, and everyone on the team had been training really hard for like decades. Or like we were 18, so everyone probably started playing when they were like 10. So you have at least 10 years of like just really diligent focus. And like with Tenzo, we're on like year 5.5. Like
Mhm.
we're basically like a high school, I don't know, junior varsity level player. Like
Hmm.
we're probably pretty good for that level, and maybe we're getting recruited by some, Division I schools, but like we're not at the same level yet. And we had a lot of those kind of blips, which like got us from like, oh, like we're in elementary school, to like, oh, this is middle school. And that was probably like figuring out cash flow. Like that's like so insanely important as a brand. And you have very large financial obligations and managing cash cycles and inventory is really hard. And then I would say the next one is just like learning how to sell and like getting really good at sales. Like that comes from like our wholesale business and building a really good sales team and understanding the processes. And then on the e-com side, just like understanding the funnels and retention and unit economics and contributional margin and getting really good at that too. But a lot of steps.
Yeah. Okay. I like that answer.
Yeah, I like that too. And I just want to say one thing, which is I want to pinpoint because I haven't heard this much, but like usually the way that you look at acquisition is exactly what you were saying, which is cohort analysis. Let's look at LTV where we should spend the money. But I have rarely heard looking at retention the same exact way. And like what you said, like let's A/B test, like adding one thing to the package and then seeing what happens after the fact. And I think that's clear to me that is something special that your company and yourself work on that probably has put you into a good spot right now.
Yeah, I think that definitely helped us separate from the pack. And I think just going off on that, like one of my biggest regrets is just not doing ecom more seriously earlier on. Basically, didn't even do it for the first 3 years of the company until the pandemic hit, and then it was like, oh, like we should sell on ecom. And we got really good at it and grew it a ton.
Yeah, that's well. There's a lot of power to that, right? Like
But
always learning.
We missed the golden era.
I don't think
everyone
that's
was just
true.
Oh no, we did. People with no effort and skills could just jump on and just print money. It's crazy.
Help that cash flow.
Yeah, but it's all about LTV now.
Yeah, it's brand, LTV, good products. That's it.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I think this has been phenomenal. Steve, we like to ask at the end of each episode resources that you'd like to share, but you all were talking about books anyways. So just real quick, are there any more that have helped you along the way outside of books, or if you want to recommend more that came to mind? We're going to give the space to you to do so as we wrap up.
Yeah, I would fall back on my earlier advice. Maybe pick a couple good books for each specific thing that you're trying to learn. Read those books. Get those books probably recommended by experts in the field. And then after you read those books, start actually doing the work and learn through doing. Yeah. A little advice for the day.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so fun.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Steve.
You guys were great. This was also just a good podcast. It was very conversational and not just like like here's me answering a question and so props to you guys for setting
Appreciate that. That's
Music
exactly what I told Mariah. I was like, that's the last thing I want.
Yeah. Thanks for the time.
If you ever want to come back on, let us know.
Yeah.
Season 3, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just get through season 2.
Yeah. Hey.
Sorry.
We had a great one.
We did.
A lot of fun. Stay in touch though, Steve. Wish you the best.
Cool. Will do.